Hello there, everyone. Hope you had a good weekend. We're at the end of a long weekend, and tomorrow is another Monday, so good luck with that. But anyway, I'm going to try and get right into it. I am going to talk about, let's see, Matthew. This incident, I'm talking about the Bible story where Jesus flips over the tables in the temples, or table in the temple. And this story is discussed in Matthew 21:12 to 16, Luke 19:45 to 47, and John 2:13 to 16. I'm only allotted 15 minutes on here, so I'm going to try and get through all of those because I read through each telling of that story and I thought that there was something valuable in and a little bit different in each version of that story. So well, first of all, I'm going to tell you why I'm talking about this. I posted a link in the description of this video, and there is a pastor named Pearson. I had never heard of this pastor before, but he's the son-in-law of Kenneth Copeland, who is a pretty OG televangelist. And this pastor Pearson, he is Kenneth Copeland's son-in-law. Anyway, he pastors a church in Texas, and he went viral a few weeks ago on Twitter, and he was doing this sermon, and he based it on this incident about about Jesus turning the tables over in the temple. And if you want to look at it, if you're not familiar with it, look at the link. He put a picture up there of one of the election places where they were counting the votes, and he just said that it just reminded him of Jesus flipping over tables in the temple, and then he had a card table, and he flipped it over. He was just doing this, saying that he thought that the election was corrupt and stuff like that. But anyway, you can watch it for yourself. Anyway, I am very familiar with this story in the Bible. However, it's not something that really had a lot of meaning to me. But I went and I read it over and I found some very interesting things. So let me go ahead and start. I'm going to start with Matthew. I should already had it there. But anyway, Matthew 21:12 to 16. All right, and I'm going to read the study notes too. Okay, Jesus clears the temple again. Jesus entered the temple area and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said to them, "My house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers." Okay, now I'm going to read the study notes there about those verses. This is the second time Jesus cleared the temple. See John 2:13-17. Merchants and money changers set up their booths in the court of the Gentiles in the temple, crowding out the Gentiles who came from all over the civilized world to worship God. The merchants sold sacrificial animals at high prices, taking advantage of those who had come long distances. The money changers exchanged all international currency for the special temple coins, the only money the merchants would accept. They often deceived foreigners who didn't know the exchange rates. Their commercialism in God's house frustrated people's attempt at worship. This, of course, greatly angered Jesus. Any practice that interferes with worshiping God should be stopped. Now, as I read this again, I do want to point out that in the study notes, whoever scholar wrote this did say, crowding out the Gentiles who had come from all over the quote civilized world. That did not escape me that is racist. But anyway, just wanted to read that. And then I'm going to go to the next one real quick. So pretty much Jesus overturned those tables because people were not using the temple as it was meant for. They were not using it as worship, or at least not predominantly. They were using it to hustle people, and that is why God, or Jesus, God, flipped over the table. So let me go over to Luke 19, 45, 47 real quick. Luke 19. Okay, Luke 19, 45 to 47. Luke 19, 45, 47. Again, Jesus clears the temple. Again. Then he entered the temple area and began driving out those who were selling. It is written, he said to them, my house will be a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of robbers. Every day he was teaching at the temple, but the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the leaders among the people were trying to kill him. Yet they could not find any way to do it, because all the people hung on his words. All right, so let me read the study notes there again. Sorry, guys. Okay, so the study notes here, they cover verses 47, verse 47. Who were the, quote, leaders among the people? This group probably included wealthy leaders in politics, commerce, and law. They had several reasons for wanting to get rid of Jesus. He had damaged business in the temple by driving the merchants out. In addition, he was preaching against injustice, and his teachings often favored the poor over the rich. Further, the great popularity was in danger of attracting Rome's attention, and the leaders of Israel wanted as little as possible to do with Rome. So, I just want to point out primarily that when it says, who were the, quote, leaders of the people, as it says in verse 47, and again it says, but the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the leaders among the people were trying to kill him. They were trying to kill Jesus. Those were wealthy leaders in politics, ding, 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 commerce, and law. Just want to point that out real quick. And, okay, let's move on to John 2, 13 to 16. This one was my favorite. I thought this one was a trip. John 2, 13 to 16. Sorry, guys. Gosh. I really should have like dog-eared these or something. 1 John 2. Sorry, I just had it. John 2. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple courts, he found men selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and others sitting at tables exchanging money. So and this is the part that tripped me out, so he made a whip of cords and drove all from the temple area, both sheep and cattle. He scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. So in John, not only did he flip over the tables, he made him a whip and like whipped at people, or probably did actually whip some people. I just thought it was funny because Christ was not having it. Okay, to those who sold doves, he said, "Get these out of here. How dare you turn my father's house into a market?" His disciples remembered that it is written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." Then the Jews demanded of him, "What miraculous signs can you show us to prove your authority to do all this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." And that's far enough there. And let me read the study notes again. And this is a little bit long, so bear with me. The Passover celebration took place yearly at the temple in Jerusalem. Every Jewish male was expected to make the pilgrimage to Jerusalem during this time. Deuteronomy 16:16. This was a week-long festival. The Passover was one day, and the Feast of Unleavened Bread lasted the rest of the week. The entire week commemorated the freeing of the Jews from slavery in Egypt. Jerusalem was both the religious and political seat of Palestine, and the place where the Messiah was expected to arrive. The temple was located there, and many Jewish families from all over the world would travel to Jerusalem during the key feasts. The temple was on an imposing site, a hill overlooking the city. Solomon had built the first temple on this same site almost 1,000 years earlier, but the temple had been destroyed by the Babylonians. 2 Kings 25. The temple was rebuilt 515 BC, and Herod the Great enlarged and remodeled it. Let me hurry here. The temple was always crowded during Passover with thousands of out-of-town visitors, so there's a lot of potential for business and to make money here. The religious leaders crowded it even further by allowing money changers and merchants to set up booths in the court of the Gentiles. They rationalized this practice as a convenience for worshipers and as a way to make money for temple upkeep. But the religious leaders did not seem to care that the court of the Gentiles was so full of merchants that the foreigners found it difficult to worship. So all this commerce was getting in the way of worship. And worship was the main purpose for visiting the temple. No wonder Jesus was angry. The temple tax had to be paid in local currency, so foreigners had to have their money exchanged. But the money changers often would charge exorbitant exchange rates. The people also were required to make sacrifices for sins. Because of the long journey, many could not bring their own animals. Some who brought animals would have them rejected for imperfections. So animal merchants would do a flourishing business in the temple courtyard. The price of sacrificed animals was much higher in the temple area than elsewhere, so they were price gouging in the temple. Jesus was angry at the dishonest, greedy practices of the money changers and merchants, and he particularly disliked their presence on the temple grounds. They were making a mockery of God's house of worship. So anyway, I will stop there. So pretty much, as far as Pearson's video, I feel like he's one of the political leaders that angered God and who is really trying to get rid of Jesus because they didn't really like what he had to say. And he is a charlatan and he is getting in the way of worship. And I took up a lot of time. I only get 15 minutes, so I'm going to cut this short. But anyway, I just thought it was ironic that this man who is a religious charlatan used the story of Jesus flipping over the temples when he, in fact, is getting in the way of worship and using the church as a money hustle. And if Jesus Christ could have walked into his church when he did that sermon, I think that Jesus Christ probably would have flipped over some tables and brought himself a cord to whip some people and chase some people out. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Have a wonderful weekend, wonderful day, and God bless. Thank you for watching.